Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. The bird.
Eat like a bird, campers will discover that birds adapt to their environments and as a result have different methods to best harvest their food. The campers will then participate in a hands-on activity to figure out which types of beaks are best for different types of food. To help illustrate the difference between bird beaks, you can use the laminated sheets in your kit. The campers will work in groups for this activity, and you should prepare one tray of each type of food per team. One of the trays will be sequins sprinkled in pine cones to represent insects in wood. Another tray will be colored water in a pan to represent nectar. Another tray will be sunflower seeds spread on a tray. You'll then have sponge pieces in a pan of water to represent marine vegetation. And last, you'll have worms in a shallow pan of water to represent minnows. Next, show the campers 5 different tools which represent 5 different types of bird beak shapes. Have them test out each of the beaks at each of the stations to see which beak shape works best for gathering that type of food. You can then show the campers photos of different birds to see if any of them have a beak shape like the tools they just used. For example, the hummingbird's beak is like the pipette that we used to suck up the nectar. My Territory is an active game that you can play outside with your campers. Start by marking off a designated play area using the cones. Next, have your campers line up on opposite sides of the play area. Next, have the campers close their eyes while you scatter the play mice across the play area. The object of the game is for the campers to pretend they are owls who must compete for food in this area. Any owl who gathers less than 2 mice must leave and find a new home. Because you want to eliminate owls, you'll want to make sure that each time you scatter the mice, you do so that 1 or 2 owls will be eliminated. To begin the game, count to 3 and have all the campers scramble to get their mice. The rules are they can only carry 1 mouse at a time. They'll need to bring 1 mouse back to their nest before going back out to the play area to get another. After all the mice have been collected, check to see which owls survived and which must leave the area. Throw all the mice back in and repeat, but every time throw out fewer mice until only 1 owl remains. The activity Birds and Beasts will demonstrate how a bird's gizzard works. The gizzard is like our stomach in that it contains acids that help break down food, but it also has small stones or grit that help it break down bigger chunks of food. You'll have a laminate in your kit so the campers can see what a gizzard looks like. They'll then separate into groups for a hands-on activity to see how the gizzard works. Divide the campers into groups and give each group 1 plastic bag, 15 marbles, and a ½ cup of rolled oats. The bag will represent the gizzard of a bird, and the marbles will represent the small stones that birds swallow to aid with digestion. Have the groups open their bags and add their ½ cup of oats and the 15 marbles. They should squeeze as much air as possible out of the bag. They'll then take turns kneading the bag, moving the marbles around to mimic the contracting walls of the gizzard. After After each camper in the group has had a turn kneading the bag, they can open it up and see that the oats have been ground into a fine dust. Begin the activity owl pellet dissection by sharing some information about owls with your campers. There are over 145 different types of owls, and in your kit you will have several examples of different types. Let the campers look at the different pictures of owls and choose their favorite. You can also ask them to share stories if they've ever seen any of these owls before. Next, campers will prepare to dissect an owl pellet. Explain that while an owl swallows their prey whole, they have special stomachs that sort out the nutritious parts from parts that an owl can't digest, such as bones and fur. These parts are later regurgitated in a pellet form by the owl. By dissecting the pellet and examining the contents inside, the campers will be able to determine what type of animal their owl recently ate. To identify the contents of the pellet, the campers will use bone identification guides. These sheets have illustrations of the bones most commonly found inside of owl pellets. As they discover bones inside their pellets, campers can look to the guides to identify what animal the bone may have come from. You'll have illustrations of rodents, shrews, moles, and birds. For the owl pellet dissection, you'll give each camper a Ziploc bag, a dust mask, a pair of gloves, a pair of tweezers, a paper plate, and one owl pellet. Have all the kids put on the gloves and dust masks. Make sure that the campers wear them throughout the entire dissection. Explain that the owl pellets are very delicate and they'll need to take their pellet apart slowly and gently in order to see what's inside of it. Have the campers unwrap their pellet and then very gently pull it apart. As they pull them apart, they should see several bones inside the pellet. They'll want to take their tweezers and very gently remove the bones inside of the pellet. Tell the campers to work slowly and carefully so they can remove their bones intact. Make sure to remind them to look at their owl pellet identification guides to identify the bones inside. After the campers have finished dissecting and identifying the bones in their owl pellets, they can use their plastic bag to pack up any bones they'd like to take home. Make sure that all campers throw away their gloves, their mask, their paper plate, and any of the hair and other remains from their pellet that they are not keeping. You'll also want to be sure that all the campers thoroughly wash their hands after they've cleaned up. When walking on water, you'll make the switch from birds to bugs. Have the insect cards displayed on a table, or you could hide the cards around your camp area and have the campers go on a bug hunt. Explain that now they'll become entomologists or scientists who study insects. Today they'll experiment with copper wire to discover how water striders stay afloat on the water. For this activity, you'll need the small plastic tub, a container of water, a container of dishwashing liquid, a pair of tweezers, and 2 copper pieces. One will be a straight piece, and the other will be twisted into the shape of a water strider. Start by filling the tub with water. Take the single piece of copper wire and put it into the water, pointing one of the ends straight down. Have the campers observe that it will sink. Ask the children whether they think you can get the water strider model to float on top of the water. Using the tweezers, gently put the model lying flat on top of the water. It will stay on top. The water strider disperses its weight evenly over its long legs so it doesn't break the water's surface tension. Our water strider model doesn't sink for the same reason. Ask the campers what they think will happen if you put a drop of soap into the water. Squeeze a drop of soap in and the model will sink to the bottom. Explain that soap is very slippery, and when it hits the water molecules on the surface of the water, they get too slippery to keep holding on, and they break the water's surface tension. That's one of the reasons why the campers should never put soap into a river, lake, or ocean when they're camping. If they do, they might be responsible for killing insects. Now that your campers have learned so much about birds, they'll create a recycled bird feeder. Each camper will need one empty soda or water bottle. Using Sharpies, they can decorate their bottles. After the campers have decorated their bottles, have them go outside and search for a stick to use as a perch inside their bird feeder. Using your craft knife, you'll cut 2 small slits in each camper's bottle near the top of the bottle. The campers can then use their scissors to enlarge the holes on either side. After the holes have been enlarged, they'll take their stick and insert it through the bottle with a small section of the stick sticking out of each side. Next, give each camper an eye screw to screw in the bottom of their bottle. Younger campers may need assistance with this part. If you're having a hard time getting the eye screw into the bottle, you can first make a small hole with your craft knife or scissors. You can also use the pliers, if necessary, to grasp the eye screw for easier turning. Have each camper open the lid to their bottle and use the funnel to fill the bottle. Next, have each camper open the lid to their bottle and use the funnel to fill their bottle about 2/3 of the way full with birdseed. Then have the campers cap the bottle . Now, when the campers take their bird feeders home, they'll be ready for hanging. Your kit will include some extra resources, such as the Wings book and the Beastly book, in case you have campers who would like to explore more about birds and beasts during their breaks.